do you have the idea of the disruption and innovation at FFC?
What's happening is that FFC also has a seat in the International Fertilizer Association directorship.
Okay.
I'm a director on that board. That board has now become part of the United Nations. So we are part of the United Nations indirectly. The focus today is on environmental control and the free use of pesticide and urea, nitrogen. We are on the radar. So very soon, countries who are only doing nitrogen are going to get in trouble. There could be sanctions, there could be anything. So we need to now deal with how we are using fertilizers and how we need to change. The other thing that we have to look at it, because we have to be integrated at the international level when you talk of disruptions and innovation, etc. Then we go to 2030. 2030 is international population. They're looking at 10 billion people. 10 billion people need food. So therefore, since we're in the food industry and food business, we have to be on our toes, because this is the country, one of those countries which can produce that food. Now, what do we do here? There's hydroponics, there's vertical farming, there's a lot of other things that we need to do. There are nutrients which we have to make. There are different kinds of nutrients we have to make. One nutrient that we are making now is urea, which releases nitrogen after short spans of time, so it's all consumed by the crop and not released in the climate.
Okay.
And we've already started giving that to the farmers for looking at the yield. So these are the lines that we have to take. The other issue in disruptive businesses is when people don't own the production, but they own the distribution. So that's what they do, like the taxis and cars and things. And we could be challenged by that. But the price of fertilizer here is 1,000 rupees less than the international market. That gap for any disruptive distribution here is at the moment not possible.
So after this, your FFC, the background. Now the question regarding the leadership, because the CEO is the managing director, is a leading and from the front side. What is leadership to you, and what are the 3 characteristics of a leader to run such big giant companies successfully, sir?
Leadership
is the most sought after subject. You people throughout the life you are developed, you trained for the leadership stuff.
Leadership is complicated, but
in a simple way,
has to be understood.
Yes. Concept of leadership. What are the characteristics of a good leader?
I cannot really explain leadership because you see, when people talk about leadership, they list out numeration, a number of qualities.
Hundreds and hundreds.
And then when you look at those qualities apply to every human being on earth.
Okay.
So there's no real difference between it. So what really is a leader?
Yes, this is my question to the Honorable Tariq Khan sir.
You have, I can have to go above even the CEO level to really get an example. If you really want to see any modern time leaders, then you have 2 leaders in modern time who I could quote. One is Qaid-e-Azam,
MashaAllah,
and the other is Nelson Mandela.
Wow.
Now, Qaid-e-Azam, about him, as it was written very clearly, that very few people have been able to change geography, create a nation state. He did all these things. He had no political, experience. He didn't have military ranks on his shoulder in an army. He was not outrageously rich, and therefore he did not have all those things which people use for leadership today. So what did he have, which was obviously others don't have?
And that is credibility, that is integrity?
I think I use one term, and that is charisma.
Charisma?
Charisma.
Okay.
And Nelson Mandela, who made a whole nation turn around from a jail cell and came out, he also didn't have these things. It was again charisma. Charisma is defined as that quality which others look at and they want to be like him. Now, when I tell this to students or otherwise in a talk, they will turn around and tell me that where do I go and buy this charisma from? And I always tell them that you can't buy charisma, you develop it. Everyone has it.
Wow.
And you develop it from your childhood, and as you grow up, in the opportunities that you get and the experiences that you take. If you miss those opportunities and don't have the experience, you will never have the charisma.
True.
So if you're going to live an easy life and just go through a routine business, you will never be a charismatic leader. You will just be a manager.
Manager.
And the difference between a leader and a manager is that the efficiency with which you cut a jungle down is good management. But the one who climbs the tallest tree and says wrong jungle, that's leadership.
By Stephen Covey, I can remember this example in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective. He gave a beautiful example. He continued. Okay, leadership is a vision, is a long-term thinking.
Yes, sir.
Sir, my next question is, especially the Harvard Business School, sir, has a research on leadership. They say that one quality leaders have, that is emotional intelligence. What is your take on the EQ, sir?
Well, I haven't really studied it in that sense, but there are emotions, and people have to deal with those emotions, but they must never allow the emotions to override the decision making.
Okay.
The decision making has to be away from emotions, but emotions allow you the empathy to live with human beings. Look here, for instance, a decision I had to make, which you could say is an outcome of emotions, is I'll give you an example. There are two things that I feel that I had to do. One was open a child center for the women, so they could bring the children to work.
Okay.
And I think that helped a lot. And we have a professional child center for the children to come here, and women to bring their children and leave them there, and they can go and see the child after every 2-3 hours or whatever they want to do. So that is one. Second thing was that there was no interaction between the staff and the CEO. So I have every quarterly I have a meeting with them, just me and the entire management, and the staff is allowed to question us and talk to us. Another meeting is between the junior executives and me, when no other management is allowed.
Okay.
It's only me and them, and so we do that. These are things which are out of emotion, because there's an empathy. You want to reach out from human angle.
Yes, putting yourself in the shoes of others to feel them.
Yes, that is the emotion. But the decisions that you make there, they are not based on emotion. They are based upon hard, cold, deliberate
facts. Old facts. So it is said the leaders, the good decision makers, they make tough decisions. Gen Tariq Khan made any tough decision in his life?
Yes.
2-3 times. Any decisions?
The last one that I made was when I I took the losses of the Provident Fund which we'd installed in the mutual funds, and I had to then call all the people and explain to them. We had a very good system in which we were giving 20% interest to the people, but with the present system, half of that started collapsing, and I had to make a decision to realize the loss now rather than hope for the gains later. So I took the loss now, in which it averages out at 12%, and I thought that's a good enough benefit, and I had to stand and explain it to the people. So it's their money, and you're deciding that, all right, take it out, sell it, and all that. So it was a hard decision.
Hard decision. So any achievement you are proud of at this age?
Achievement is that we had a 10 billion profit margin. We last year went up to 15, and now we are almost touching 20.
Despite all the testing times?
Despite all the testing times, the inflation, the interest rate,
recession,
the
economy.
GIDs
really took over, Saji. बहुत बड़ा loss है, hit है.
No, we are not going to lose. The government will lose.
Government will lose.
We have already given them 158 billion, and now we are at 58 billion as a company to give them 50%.
Tax, I think this is one of the top tax paying companies.
We are.
You are the top taxpayer.
We are top 10.
Top 10 taxpayers. Sir, who's your role model, sir? Who's your inspiration? You are, mashallah, yourself a role model, but who's your role model, sir?
My grandfather.
So,
yes, I always thought that he is the person I would like to be.
Any one trait you love to follow, we should love to follow?
Never taking life seriously.
Excellent. Because we are so serious. Sir, work-life balance, because you are leading a big company. Do you think you justify this in a new role as an MD of a big entity, making work-life balance?
Well, since this company or these companies and Fauji Foundation are part of a very different structure. We don't have any physical owner.
Yes.
And we have to work within a certain environment. And that is the Fauji environment. That is how I come in useful to fit into that role.
True.
And I suppose anybody with my experience will fit into that role. But if you are asking from the point of view of a professional who's running a company and all that, then that will never be possible through a Lieutenant General who comes for 3 years. It's not going to be possible. It will only be possible through the staff that you have, your CFO, your other management, your business development, who are here for 30 years or 35 years. So it's them you have to depend upon.
Sir, success. What is your definition? General Tariq Khan's success definition.
Measure of success has always been, and that is why when I retired, I went back to my home in Waziristan. Is that whatever you do, then it must create life around you.
Okay.
It should not be sitting in a house and retired. It should give emancipation to women.
True.
It should give a shoulder for people to cry on. It should give offices.
Wow.
So, and that is, I am very happy to say that I did that. I went back and I activated our lands. So we have a place for the women who want to come and just break away from some bad situation. A little bit of free education for little children.
Excellent. This is contribution towards society.
I built a motel in Naran, and that's only open to membership, and that's state of the art.
Wow.
And that has got a lot of employment, and people rotate through it. And
Naran mein hai sir.
Indeed.
Sir, what is the secret of smile on your face, sir? Because मैंने बड़े देखे हैं फौजी सर, वो बड़ी उनकी बड़ी stiff smile होती है, बड़ी ordered, disciplined smile, but you have very natural smile. Glitter in your eyes. What is your secret? What is the secret of smile, sir? Frankly speaking, I'm not feeling कि मैं आपको पहली दफा मिल रहा हूँ sir.
My greatest ideal, I told you, was my grandfather. He said, never take life too seriously. So
but take your job seriously, but not.
Don't take life too seriously. And your position, learn to laugh at yourself.
हाय ये बड़ा मुश्किल काम है सर. ये बहुत बड़े आदमी कर सकता है, छोटा आदमी नहीं कर सकता. वो छोटा आदमी नहीं कर सकता. सर किताब को के बुक्स जो होती हैं, they are the कहते हैं कि readers are readers. How many books you read in a year per annum? Global तो है 50 किताबें पढ़ते हैं CEOs. आप 2-3 किताबें बताएं सर, which really impacted your life, which can people benefit.
Different kinds of books. I am very interested in civilization. I think I learn a lot from civilization. So I read a lot on civilizations. I like to read history. I visit historical places all over the world whenever I can because it's of interest to me. I try and see how it influences things. The best thing I've read so far recently was the Vietnam War.
Okay.
And why
it's a big case study.
Why I read it and why I was interested in it, because as I read it, since I have been the longest in battle out here, I felt I'm reading about ourselves.
Okay.
And I realized that we never learned anything from it.
Oh.
So we could have avoided a lot of rubbish if we had just gone through this book and seen what all had happened. Oh, this is one. I'm also very interested in biographies. I like Nixon's book.
Nixon.
And I like Crystal's book, or over the time the various leaders, what all they needed to do. I cannot go to sleep without reading a chapter. So
wow! You are really.
So I like to read a book for at least every day. Something. So wherever I travel, I carry a book.
अब तो डिजिटल किताबें आ गई, तो लोग जो हमारी नस्ल है तो हम तो किताब पेपर वाली पढ़ते हैं, आज भी मजा आता है उसको पढ़ने.
I can't read a digital book. I need to read it physically.
नहीं पढ़ी जाती. So you are right, sir. So last question. Pakistan nowadays, for the last 1 year, with new government in place, we have difficult times. Everybody knows. So what is your message of optimism and hope for the young heroes, young people, young youth in this country, sir?
I don't know if I'm right or I'm wrong, but this is my feeling. Many years ago, not many years ago, at least when I was in service, there was a lot of interaction that I used to have with people. And one of my views and opinions was at that time, which I used to be very upset about, was that we are undertaking irreversible damage. And that irreversible damage was that we are reaching a stage where we run out of time and we run out of resources. We have exhausted everything. I think this government has now come in at a time when we had undergone that event of irreversible damage. I don't know why this government can't explain it. To get out of that irreversible damage stage, very hard decisions have to be made. It cannot be done through wishing through it. They are doing that. They're doing it in their own silly way or whatever way they're doing it, with lack of capacity, sometimes with incompetence, but that is the direction they're trying to take. So in stumbling towards that direction, we're moving forward. And everybody is crying. And they're crying because they don't understand that we are trying to get out of a very bad situation. So you're going to have very high prices, you are going to have inflation, you are going to have issues like this. Otherwise, how will you get out of it? So these are things that are going to happen.
Both painful.
And I think this is going to last. You will start probably seeing in a year's time, if I am right, you will start seeing positivity. But it's going to take us another 4 or 5 years before we recover as a country.
अल्लाह करे सर, ये तो बहुत बड़ी दुआ है आपका, बहुत बड़ी, आपने बड़ा सही बोला, अगर ये फैसले मुश्किल फैसले डिफिकल्ट फैसले वी डू नॉट टेक राइट नाउ, तो वी विल बिग लूजर्स सर। थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, मैंने आपका बहुत बहुत लिया सर।